Greetings and welcome to yet another special episode of Online Showcases, and as always, I'm your host, Dark, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Sixth House and Solstheim Modding Madness, part of our Morrowind Modding Madness competition, where teams had to build mods within a mere 2-week time frame, based on random themes as chosen by our Lord Shilgrath atop the Tower of Madness, and there's some really cool mods that were submitted for this latest challenge. 3 of the 6 modding teams released some mods on time, and in addition, we also have a late entry by Team War and Floof for the Dreamy theme challenge a couple weeks back. That's what we're going to be looking at today. And as always, you can find down the links for all the mods shown here down in the video description below. So let's get things started with our first mod, Ashes and Ice by Team Mythical Beasts. And with this mod, you'll hear rumors out at Fort Frostmoth that strange and diseased beasts are roaming the wilds, even more dangerous than the typical Nordic wildlife that plagues the island. And as it turns out, this mod adds 3 new secret and hidden away 6th house bases to the island of Solstheim. And really, this is a dungeon mod first and foremost, with a number of new and diseased opponents for you to face and defeat. Most of these are varieties on the local wildlife, like wolves, bears, and hawkers, among other things. And this is a pretty cool addition. You can actually notice the divine disease corpus taking hold here, unlike in vanilla Morrowind, where blighted creatures all look the same. And now checking out some of the new dungeons included in this mod. Each of the 3 new dungeons included here is a unique mix of more traditional Solstheim dungeon elements, such as caverns, icy barrows, and Nordic tombs, but combined with more sinister 6th house influences, using a lot of that classic evilish feeling red lighting, with 6th house banners and furnishings to create an unmistakable atmosphere. Each of these dungeons is fairly sizable. I'd say they're mostly about mid-size, with a fair number of opponents to face and loot to find. And each of them, I believe, has a certain 6th house relic inside them that's spreading the blight to Solstheim, hence the infected wildlife, which is even starting to spread to the north a bit, as we'll see here in a minute. And personally, I really quite like these dungeons. They manage to appear fairly detailed, at least for dungeons on Solstheim anyway, and they have some really cool and epic looking areas for you to find as you explore through them. Like, take for example this rather unique looking room here, very clearly a 6th house shrine room of some sort, but unlike anything else on Vardenfell. And again, the atmosphere in here is just top notch. And this is just one of the 3 new dungeons included with this mod, an impressive addition for being built in only 2 weeks, though that goes for just about all the mods produced for the competition thus far. The teams have really outdone themselves for this year's Morrowind Modding Madness. And now we're going to be taking a quick look at just one more dungeon here, though we won't be showing off too much in this one to try and avoid spoilers. And like I said before, each of these dungeons is unique in appearance and design. This one doesn't really look anything like the one we just saw at all, and it includes a variety of traps for you to try and skillfully avoid. And it should be mentioned that there's a number of traps and also puzzles for you to try and figure out in these dungeons, with various scripted encounters, so these are a bit more complicated than your typical dungeon romps. And real quick, here you can see one of the infected Nords, and there's a fair few of them in these dungeons here, and you also find that this mod includes quite a few new 6th house assets, from grates and pillars to 6th house style chests ready to be looted. And I know I keep saying this, but for everything that's been accomplished here, this is a really impressive submission by Team Mythical Beasts, and I'd highly recommend you go check it out for yourself. And next up, we have Legend of Chemua by Team Dreamy Dremora, and I must admit, I'm not really sure how you pronounce that word, but anyway, we're just going to carry on. This mod adds a new quest given by a Nord in Dagenfell, who has a fairly detailed background story, and a little bit of a story about his family's ancestral crypt off on some island in the inner sea that's apparently been taken over by the 6th house. And yes, this mod does add a new landmass to the game, and no, it isn't exactly compatible with Tower built. You can see it on the map here, real quick. It has a slight conflict with TR, and of course it will also conflict with the French landmass mod Raj 1, which is also in the same location. But with that conflict warning out of the way though, let's take a quick look at this new landmass. And it's a rather unique place, combining the sort of typical mushroom landscape of the Azores Coast region with the chilly ice and snow more common in Solstheim. And you'll notice a sort of a unique weather type here, a combination of a blight storm and a blizzard, a blight zerd if you will. You'll also find some rather unique monsters inhabiting this island that are rather nightmarish in appearance, and apparently fighting off the influx of 6th house forces that have moved into the island. And the island does have a really nice design, and for the most part, you'll be fighting through most of it, with a number of unique creatures added by this mod, and of course, a new Nordic-style tomb to explore as well, as we'll see later on. And again, I know I keep repeating myself a lot with these competition videos, but this is just a really fairly impressive submission for just 2 weeks' time. and for the most part, that does go for every mod submitted, but especially Team Dreamy Dremora's mods. Though we'll have to wait and see what the judges say, since we're still waiting to get the scores back for this round. But anyway, doing a bit of an aerial tour here, this island has a large frozen glacier in the center of it that you'll have to fight around before you can find the entrance to the tomb, and the rest of the island is pretty much wilderness, with lots of things to fight and kill, and I think every mod submitted for this round ended up being a dungeon mod for the most part. Obviously, Team Mythical Beasts had a dungeon mod, and Team Horny Skulls did as well, albeit with, quests attached. But there's just a lot of dungeon delving content in this round of the competition. As most of you know, I'm a pretty big dungeon mod fan myself, so this has been a pretty awesome competition so far. But getting back to the showcase here, this mod also ties in surprisingly with lore, so despite the rather difficult combination of Solstheim and Bloodmoon and Sixth House themes, this mod does fit in perfectly in terms of lore accuracy, relying on a character described in the 36 Lessons of Vivek to provide the setting for the island and tomb here. And for those who want the mods to fit in with the rest of the game, you'll find a lot to like here. And as always, the story and quest for this mod is fairly well written and enjoyable to read through. And now we're not going to spend too much time exploring the tomb here, since it's a bit on the small side, and I want to avoid spoilers as much as possible. But much like the rest of the island, the tomb is an interesting mix of more traditional Morrowind flora and caverns with Nordic tombs and ice, with a couple of lore-based documents scattered about, and also the occasional rather curious characters, such as the skeleton trapped in ice, who has a fair bit of dialogue, and there's also some rather large chambers to explore, and overall, this is just a fun dungeon romp and quest to go on, that does actually fit in with the rest of the game, while at the same time providing some new and unique opponents for you to face, and lots of lore to read. I'd highly encourage you to check it out for yourself. And for our final mod for the third challenge, we have From Ash to Frost by Team Horny Skulls. And now this mod actually takes place after the end of the Morrowind main quest, and also after the Raven Rock colony is fully built. Apparently the last remnants of the Sixth House, with Dahrk no longer around to lead them, have fled to the frozen island of Solstheim, where they've now started causing trouble for the natives and the local imperial garrison. And this trouble generally takes the form of various attacks on the local settlements and to townspeople of Solstheim, with corporous afflicted creatures first attacking the colony town of Raven Rock, and this basically launches you on a quest to again defeat the Sixth House, but this time on Solstheim. You'll have to go through and kill all these corporate stalkers in Raven Rock, and then look for clues as to why they're even there, in addition to, of course, trying to find out where their new Sixth House bases are. And overall, this mod adds 3 new quests, as well as overhauls for 2 pre-existing Solstheim dungeons, turning them into proper Sixth House bases, with a fair bit of content included. And we're going to take a look at just one of these dungeon overhauls here, since again, pretty much all these mods for this round of the competition have been heavily dungeon-based, and we're trying to do our best to avoid spoilers, since it's no fun exploring through a dungeon that you've already seen. And anyway, as you can see here, this dungeon overhaul utilizes the classic red glow that's often found in Sixth House bases, and this works surprisingly well, Solstheim's icy caverns, creating a nicely evil feeling atmosphere. Of course, there's also your other typical Sixth House adornments and trappings, with Sixth House banners, Sixth House statues, and graffiti, but also there's a lot of vaguely Solstheim-themed Sixth House creatures for you to face, with frost slaves and ascended sleepers that have a bit more of a colder appearance than the Vardenfell Brethren. Now, these dungeons and this quest line will probably take you a few hours to finish. I'd estimate about 2 to 3 hours of content here in total, with lots of unique touches like the numerous unique creatures in here to really make this a one-of-a-kind experience that's largely lore-friendly, unlike perhaps some of the other mods submitted by Team Horny Skulls for this competition. And overall, this is a pretty impressive turnout for a 2-man team to accomplish in such a limited amount of time. And I do believe all 3 mods submitted for this round of the competition are actually compatible with one another as well, so one could play them all together if one likes. And one final thing to note here, this mod also includes a new armor set by Hedgehog 12, a sort of Sixth House themed Nordic male armor that's rather distinctly evil looking, with blood red coloring and what appears to be decapitated heads sewn onto the shoulders here. And in any event, this is a fairly enjoyable in-game dungeon romp, and I'd highly suggest you go check it out for yourself. Now, finally, we're going to take a look at Treasures of Magic by Team War and Floof, and now this is actually a late entry for the second round challenge of the competition, the Dreamy Magic round, and what this mod does is add a large variety of new artifacts, weapons, armors, trinkets, and other odds and ends to the game world of Morrowind, hidden away in dungeons, or worn by hostile NPCs, or sold by the occasional merchant. The mod starts out when you find a book called Topics of Discussion, typically found in most booksellers, and to read it. This will add a new dialogue topic, interesting happenings that you can ask NPCs about, and it acts a lot like latest rumors, directing you to various artifacts, but not giving you exact directions or anything like that, just the odd rumor, and some NPCs will contradict others or provide, more details about where something might be in the game world, and each of these bits of dialogue is typically quite vague, though you might stumble upon a quest or two here and there that might help you find certain specific artifacts. And for the most part, these new and unique items are pretty well hidden, often in places you might not normally look, like in a Duma ruin right behind some Duma machinery. They're not usually out in the open, and to a degree this does keep in spirit with Morrowind's original looting system, which had a lot of hand-placed hidden loot scattered around dungeons. The original Morrowind developers hid a lot of stuff in various nooks and crannies that players might not otherwise think to look at. And given that, Treasures of Magic is sort of an extension of this tradition, whether it's, a helm hiding behind a pile of crates in a Velothi tomb, or a unique Duma spear apparently just sticking out of a pool of lava that you'd otherwise, try and avoid falling into, you just never know where you might find one of these artifacts. You might even come across a egg-like artifact just hiding amongst various Quama eggs, and one of Morrowind's numerous egg mines, and there's just really a ton of things that you might stumble across. Although this egg helm is certainly perhaps one of the more unique and perplexing items that you might find, with a mix of interesting enchantments. If you don't mind wearing something quite so odd looking, you'll also find some rather interesting accessories in a few of these dungeons here, like a book of enchantments that acts as a ring that you can equip, giving you a constant effect bonus. And of course there's a number of other items added by this mod, a few of which can be found via level this, but we're not going to spoil the location of every treasure here. And to that said, I did want to show off a few of the special wilderness encounters that this mod adds, with new NPCs scattered about, a few of which are curiously dead when you find them, like this one here, with a strange box nearby that you can either pick up or open. And to be warned, opening this box is not advisable, since apparently a horde of giant rats is hiding within. This is one of the more unique scripted items you'll discover, but there's others like it as well, I believe. There's also some hostile NPC encounters that you'll find out in the wilderness, and these NPCs sometimes, of course, carry various artifacts, some of which are mentioned in these dialogue topics we were, talking about before. And now finally, we're going to take a look at just some of the new and unique items included in this mod, which I've gathered together here in Rano Manor. And this is by no means everything. This is just a small selection of items, which includes weapons, armor pieces, various trinkets, new ingredients, and a few other curious items. Most of these are wholly unique items, so a few of these artifacts use the game's pre-existing meshes, just with some interesting and exciting enchantments attached to them. And really, there's quite a variety here, and most of them are extremely well hidden. It'll probably take you hours just to find them all. And this is just, of course, another nice addition to the game world of Morrowind. And that pretty much wraps up our showcase video for the Solstheim and Sixth House Mods Madness. We'll be back in about a week or so to cover the last batch of mods for the competition. But I want to go ahead and thank the teams for making so many amazing mods for this year's Morrowind Modding Madness. This has certainly been an exciting competition, and I hope to see you all next year for our next round of madness. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.